Boink. And here we go.
Alright.
Alright. Hello, world.
Hello, world, and welcome to another episode of The Nerd Herd.
This is Hunter, the comic booking nerd herder.
And this is Sasha, the video gaming nerd herder.
Hell yeah.
And, you know, we should play a game real quick to see who goes first with our first discussion.
Okay.
On three. 1, 2, 3.
Oh, it's 1, 2, 3, go. Okay, alright.
Damn it.
Alright. 1, 2, 3, go.
Yeah.
Oh man, you knew I was going to throw paper again. It's lame. Alright, go for it.
Okay, so, is there too much comic book media, like in movies, TV shows, video games, and so forth and so on?
So, I don't know. I feel like it's a little oversaturated, maybe. But I don't know if too much is what I would call it. But what are your opinions on that?
Well, I mean, comic books have been around since the earlier parts of films, like Dick Tracy, Dagwood from, like, Blondie had a comic book, film in the 30s. All the Flash Gordon, the Spirits, all the way up to the Batman in 1966, the Green Hornet, Wonder Woman, the Incredible Hulk.
The Phantom. Yeah.
Like, and then, like, even up until, like, the 80s with the Batman, and then 90s with all of that stuff, like, Shaq had a superhero film, still.
Yeah.
And so forth. Like, we've always had superhero media in the... We might be oversaturated by a certain type right now.
Right. Or maybe it's just I just perceive it as oversaturation because now we're in the digital age and it's everywhere. Like, you can't, like, open up, like, a fresh Google page, like a fresh Google search without it popping up at the bottom, like some kind of comic book something somewhere.
Well, that's also because it's feeding towards your interests.
I guess. Fair enough. But it's like, I don't know, I almost feel like there should be more representation, or maybe better representation in video games. It's like the Justice League game crashed and burned pretty hard. It's like, I miss DC Universe Online years ago was a lot of fun. You know what I'm saying? I like that.
Yeah, but that just became, like, you know, another MMO.
It did, and it got kind of boring. And then things like, the Spider-Man game, which was awesome. And then the Spider-Man Miles Morales game, which was awesome because it was kind of like the Spider-Man game that we always wanted, right? Mm-hmm. Kind of like the Batman Arkham games. The first one. Arkham City was kind of bad. But, like, you know, and Origins was okay. But I want that Wolverine game that they announced years ago. It's like, that would be ridiculous.
The Black Panther one, too.
Yeah, I saw that. That's lame. It's like, man, that would have been such a killer.
So maybe we're not getting enough comic book media and video games, but Marvel Midnight Suns, I really like that game.
Yeah.
But I also do like card games, too.
Right. Well, and I say that, and I guess Rivals did just come out, too. And it's just like Rivals, I know, is kind of is super popular right now, so it's like, you know, I played it a couple times. It's alright. It's not really my type of multiplayer game.
I'm not a big fan of hero shooters, but I can understand why a superhero company took over the hero shooter quite well.
For sure. That makes sense.
Alright,
so my topic for the week is I'm really interested in this new Magic the Gathering Final Fantasy set that came out. But I've had this conversation with a buddy of mine who's been a long-time collector, and we were talking about, is it too much? Are they doing too much? Is it because it's been Final Fantasy, and then it was Lord of the Rings, and it was, you know, it's been a number of different IPs kind of like smashed into like Magic the Gathering, and it's like, you know, they've kind of cycled away from like the original lore of the game, of the universe and that sort of thing, and like it's more so, you know, and then the cost has gone up. I understand the economy and that sort of thing, but like the cost of the cards has gone up too. And it's like, is it too much? Is it like, are we just collecting to collect? Are they just making it for whatever? Is there too many secret drops? Is there too many, like, crossover IPs? It's like, I don't know, man. I miss old school 60, you could have 4 of each thing in your deck and smash people. You know what I mean? Like,
as a fan of the Commander, I understand the changes of the power dynamic to appeal to that play group.
Right. I do like Commander, too.
But to get into the IPs, I think War Spark was their last novelization. If I am wrong, please correct me in the comments.
Right.
But that's the last actual novel I remember coming out for a Magic set.
Right.
And then there's been no like actual lore contained to their ongoing products.
Right. I know that they did the Brothers War. That was a couple of years ago, and that was Urza versus his brother, and it was like a whole set. And that was kind of cycling back to the core like storylines of the game. But then after
did
that,
they have a novel series? If they did,
no,
let us know.
They didn't. Oh, and as far as I know, they didn't. But
okay.
Yeah, for sure, let us know if they did. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. I liked being able to have like Ursa's glasses again, like being cycled back in and like those sorts of things.
They're good, but that was mostly for a reprint. So.
Right. Exactly.
But going into them using IPs, I think the Universes Beyond stuff that they're doing is going to be more expensive because of licensing.
It makes sense.
Because for their online, like MTGO and Arena, they're supposedly going to be not even doing like the Marvel Superhero, like the Spider-Man set.
Oh, okay.
They're going to be releasing them under different named cards.
Gotcha. Okay.
Because like licensing for online is different for proper media or paper media.
Right. Makes sense.
So that's probably why like the Final Fantasy decks for Commander have gone over $100.
Yeah, which is nuts.
I miss the times where I could buy one for $40, $50.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, me too. But that's alright.
But I do agree, like, we have lost, like, Magic sets. Like, the Magic sets now are like, hey, NASCAR racers. Hey, Italian mobsters.
Right.
Hey, sci-fi ninjas, which was really cool. I did, like,
that was cool. Kamigawa was cool. Yeah.
I also am a ninja player in Commander, so...
Right. For me, it was like, I liked the epics. The story cards that was like 3 parts.
And I also love sagas too.
Yes, that was cool. So yeah, good stuff.
Well, that was our weekly topics, but outside of our topics, what have we been nerding out on?
Nerding out.
Sasha, since I went first, you can go first.
Okay, so I downloaded Apotris 4.0, which is a fan-made Tetris game. It's wonderful. You guys can go check them out, and we'll see if we can like throw the link underneath the video so you can go check him out and give him some support. Check out his game. They made a ROM hack for Tetris, but they made it open for you can play it on PC, you can play it on your phone, you can play it on all these other things. You just gotta like download the correct file and that sort of thing. But it is probably the best handheld version of Tetris I've ever played, which is saying a lot because I love me some Tetris. I played Tetris probably more than any other game in my life, and I'm very partial to the DS version, and I'm very partial to like the original Game Boy version, and the Game Boy Color Tetris DX is probably up there too. But it has customization options to a point where you can go in and customize each individual square of your Tetramino to make it look like whatever you want. Huh. So, like, if you ever played, like, Bejeweled back in the day, you can turn it into little diamonds instead of it being, like, Tetris. It'd still be the Tetris pieces, but the little squares look like diamonds.
Yeah, so you could have, like, different patterns and
right,
stuff.
Right, and you can change your background, you can change your, and then you can change all of these, like, mechanics of the game, too. You can turn hard drop off, you can turn your ghost piece off, you can...
How's the music?
The music's awesome. There's a couple of, like, also fan-contributed MIDI tracks. There's like 4 or 5 different ones that are actually really, really good. And a couple of them, it's like, man, I can't believe this is actually like Game Boy Advance chip music, but it's actually really good. Awesome. And I've been sinking a lot of time into that. And I like wake up and I'll play for like 20 minutes before I start my like ink work or start working on my comics and stuff like that. But
nice.
Yeah, man, it's a good thing to kick off the morning with for sure, and end the night with.
Oh yeah, well speaking of comics, I've been revisiting some old web comics that I liked growing up. Like Nimona, the Netflix movie they had?
Oh yeah.
That was originally a webcomic.
Oh wow, I'm not sure I knew that, actually. Yeah.
And they still have some of the same jokes from the webcomics in the actual
right.
It's really funny.
That's cool.
And I just like a shape-shifting gremlin, really.
Right.
Which is really chaotic.
That's pretty awesome.
Fun. And then the other one is strong female protagonist, which Brennan Lee Mulligan and
right.
Molly Ostertag wrote.
Okay.
So we have like Dimension 20 from Dropout, and then one of the people behind Owl House.
Okay. Nice.
One of my more favorite recent Disney animations.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
But they were one of the earlier like Kickstarter comics to produce a physical comic from their webcomic. And they've been on a hiatus, and I'm waiting for them to drop the 3rd strong female protagonist. Still.
That'll be awesome. Yeah, that's awesome.
I got the first and second one. Still need a third. And then finally, Little Depressed Boy.
Right.
Which is sort of like a melodramatic romance series with love for like music, like rap and mostly rock and shit.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
I could check that out.
They were like a one I want to say that was done on Tumblr, and then Images picked them up for for their physical release.
Very cool.
Yeah.
I like Images. Images kick so much ass, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then I think back to all of the like Rob Liefeld or early like Young Blood.
I mean, yeah.
I mean, when you go to a comic shop and you see 90s Images, most of the time, like 75-85% of the time, it's going to be in the Dollar Gun.
Right. Yeah.
Unless you find that like certain Spawn or
right.
a certain Jim Lee work.
Right.
I do love the Wildcats. Though.
Wildcats is good. Yeah.
But that's what I've been learning now on.
Cool. Same.
Right.
Same. Like I said, just been playing a lot of that Tetris, and I'll have to check out some of those comics that you were talking about, man. Because I'm interested in that little sad boy, little depressed boy. I'm gonna check that out.
Oh yeah. Childish Gambino was in one of the issues.
Oh, very cool.
The camp tour.
Nice. Very cool. I'm into that.
But then let's move on to our top 3.
Okay. All right.
Do you want to go first? For this one?
Nope. It's your turn this time.
Okay, fine. What are your top 3 horror movies?
Horror movies. Okay. So I can close this list out pretty quickly because I'm not really the biggest fan of horror. I'm more of like the psychological thriller type. That's kind of scary. So I would put probably number 3, the original Saw movie.
Okay.
Because that was more of a psychological thriller after a serial killer type
my favorite
film.
Saw movie.
Yeah. The rest of them turned into like almost slasher films, but
they were psychological gore porn.
Yeah, exactly. And Saw 2, I actually walked out of the theater. It's like when he throws that girl into the pit of needles, I couldn't handle it. I literally walked out of the theater for that.
So you missed the big shot where she was down for it.
Oh no! I watched the whole. I ended up watching the whole thing at home, but like in the theater, it was too much.
Theater, you just walked out.
It was way too much. And then the people beside me are all like, you know what I'm saying? It just adds to the atmosphere. So like my second one, my number 2 is going to be another one I saw in theaters when I was younger, and that was going to be The Grudge. I love me some Sarah Michelle Gellar, so, anything with her was good. And it was one of those, like, it was so creepy, but it was still PG-13 in, like, the 2000s, so, like, I was able to go see it, I was able to go see it in the theater.
And also, Daphne. Daphne.
Yeah, the girl who played Daphne, for sure. And then my number 1 horror film is probably The Ring. And and it's just like all of these movies came out right about in the same kind of period of time in my life. So like, and I got to see them all in theaters, which is probably the reason why I like them so much.
Yeah, no, that does sound nice.
And for me, The Ring was really good. And it's like what got me to go want to see it in the theaters was like all my friends were just like, man, I got home and then like the phone call. Like, oh, my phone rang and I fucking freaked out and I threw my cup all the way across the room. I love that. It was cool. But I liked again the mental like. Complete mind screw of that's what I prefer when it comes to horror. I like Hellraiser type shit.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Well, I do like the Hellraiser, but for my top 3, my number 3 is probably going to start off with The Void, which is sort of like a Lovecraftian horror film.
Okay.
Where it's sort of like a small cast of people with a bunch of practical effects surviving a cult invading the hospital.
Right, okay.
And then a bunch of body horror and like Cthulhuan like deities and monsters.
Okay.
And it was all mostly done practical effects,
which makes it even like harder to deal with sometimes.
There's a scene in that film that really reminds me of like a Resident Evil like monster hallway chase.
Nice. That's good stuff.
It is. Man, we still got mosquitoes.
Yeah, it happens.
Yeah. They suck.
They do. They do suck.
But my number 2 would probably have to go to Night of the Living Dead.
Night of the Living Dead's a good one.
I think that's still like one of my favorite zombie films.
Right, I can get that. I'm more of like a 28 Days Later type zombie film, but that's still a good one. I think that's still good.
Well, if you're going into the psychological stuff, it actually shows the horror people like shoot first, ask questions.
Yeah,
later
100%. Yeah,
they probably killed more humans than they would have liked to admit at the end of that movie. Doing the whole count up.
Right.
And they would probably overestimate the zombies.
Right.
But then my number one horror film. And actually, I'd go into the horror film that was my favorite one, or one that I would place now.
And let's do the ones we place now, because that's the whole idea of this. They're constantly cycling the top three.
Terrifier 2.
Terrifier. Nice.
I like how they went into some cosmic deity stuff.
Right.
And I'm a fan. Like, originally it would have been The Thing.
Right.
But I'm a fan of practical effects.
Right.
And with the Terrifier, they go for practical effects over CGI.
Right.
And just that alone, I will appreciate that and give my love to.
Nice.
Pretty much all my things are practical.
I had a handful of my friends
stuff too.
When it came out, I had a handful of friends that were just nutso about it, man. And I'm just like, it's just not my thing.
No. I say if you don't like Saw or Hostel, don't check out Terrifier.
Right, 100%.
A good disclaimer to give to people.
Right.
And also, I hate clowns.
Nice.
So that's also a hard thing.
Nice, that's another one. Yeah.
But I love the Mr. Bean-esque character and the first Terrifier did not really have that, but you saw the stepping stones before the David Howerton, I want to say, the new Terrifier took over.
Yeah.
But I also watched All Hallows Eve, and when I saw Terrifier 2, I was just like, wait a second, this guy looks sort of familiar.
Right.
And then I was just like, oh, Hallows Eve. I was like, oh.
Nice.
Yeah.
Terrifier's cool.
I would have also had an honorable mention to Creepshow.
Creepshow's cool. All right.
But I also like the TV show as well, and I don't know which one I prefer.
Right. Meteor shit. That's probably my favorite part of that.
Alright, so...
Stephen King himself.
Well, Joe King was in there.
Yeah, for sure.
Lock and Key.
Yeah. You gotta be joking.
You just... Okay. Bad work, I already said it.
I know, I was there.
That's a Joe Hildeclimb.
Nice. Sure is.
But, anyways, I believe that is the ending point for our, podcast.
For our reduced in length post-intro podcast. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I think we did good.
Right? But, anything we should say? Oh, yeah, we have a Patreon now.
Yeah, you should come check it out. Go to our YouTube channel, and, you're already here, so...
Yeah, the link's right underneath our bio.
Yep.
We are releasing a daily comic strip called Puns of Stuff.
Yep.
And we are going to be working on our own underground comic, releasing 1 pages weekly.
Yep.
And then a story every month.
Yep. And exclusive to some Patreon people will be the one-pagers and that sort of thing.
Oh yeah, the comic book dealers will be behind the paywall, sadly. But, we need to have crowdsourcing to, do an underground comic.
And that way we can get some stuff published and get moving. And so you guys can see all of our wonderful brains crank out all this beautiful stuff we have for you.
Right, all the terrible puns.
Yeah.
Some people would call them amazing.
Amazing. Indeed.
Tuss.
Tis.
Alright, but anyways, thank you all for watching. And as always,
keep nerding out. Have a good day, guys.